These are the new containers. They're $1.25 each at the dollar store, and they're about 16 inches tall. What we're going to do is cut out the front of them and put a plant in each container, and with a container above it with drain holes, so each container drains into the next one. It's important to get a container with a little lip, and this lip will hang on screws or nails on the wall. What I'm going to do is start each one with some cutters, and then use scissors to complete the cut. I broke it slightly, but it's not really going to matter much. It should be covered by delicious herbs and spices. So you should end up with something like this. I might clean it up a little bit, maybe enlarge it slightly, but just something like that. So the next container will fit, will hang on the wall and leave an opening of about 2 or 3 inches, just enough to get some plant growth in. I may enlarge it slightly and just provide more space. I cut out a bigger chunk just because the plastic cracked, but actually a bigger opening is preferable because I can get more herbs growing in it. So I may do that with the other one. I may enlarge it slightly. It's not going to be too bad if these don't look sensational, because there will be plants coming out of them. It is preferable to paint them white, well, whatever color your wall is, so it blends in with the background. But I think there are going to be plants, you know, a lot of foliage coming out of the front of them, so it doesn't matter that they're not looking absolutely perfect. You know, they look a little bit stupid. And then I'm just going to drill a couple of drain holes in the bottom of each one. If you don't have a drill, you can do it with a hot pan or a nail or something. Just heat it up on the stove or with a lighter or something, anything to make it hot, and stick it through. I've just decided to make the drain holes at the back of the cut. So if this is the front, which it is, then the back will be here. So that's so the water drains to the back of the plant rather than to the front of the plant. And I just assume that it's going to create, there may be problems that it's draining at the front. So we'll just try this and see what happens. So a couple of holes here, 1 or 2 holes here. I should have purchased 1 extra container to use as a catch, but to catch the water, the excess water that comes through all the plants. For now, I'm just going to substitute a tofu container. So I'm going to establish the drop point, the bottom point here. We're going to be using this corner to establish the first row of planters. So for the very last container, I'm going to make sure that the drain holes, are at the front of the container on the bottom. They'll drip into whatever catch device I use. Otherwise, the water would drip out the back and possibly down the wall. So I'm drilling the 2 drain holes in the front. This one will be used for the very bottom container. So I'm going to take the first one, position it just above the container, and mark it off with a pencil just so I know where to put the screws. There's a little lip under here, and I want to put in screws into the wall, and so it just hangs on the screws and drips into the container. So that's the first one, and it's just a matter of repeating it up the wall. So now I'll take a second container, position it just so it drains into the next container. And again, I'll mark it with a pencil. We can also position them like this, so the plants hang out one side and hang out the front, and then hang out the side. So well, here it is, and right now it looks pretty invisible. The point is, we can use food-grade plastics to grow plants in without fear of contamination. And it turns out that this is a cheaper alternative than to a plastic pipe, which actually requires a lot more work to drill and make available for plants. By pouring water in. Everything is draining nicely into the catch basin at the bottom. So we can probably reuse this water as nutrient water in the future. So I've just put some cuttings that we had lying around in the containers just to illustrate what happens with this contraption. And it looks pretty empty right now, but in a few months it'll just be jammed with all sorts of foliage and looking very nice, we hope. Hopefully there's something to eat there too. And we have a skylight, of course. This is a very gray, dark, miserable day in Toronto.
So let's have a look and see what you do. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love it. Oh, it's a miracle. Hey! I don't know how he does it.